Found a love like this. There it is. I've never found a love like this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to E20 Zone TV Opposition Preview. To my right, you know who he is. The good-looking man, the man who fights fucking everything, Mitchell. And down the bottom there is Macy, and over there is Henry. Manchester United fans. Mitch, how are you doing, bro?
I'm sweet. I'm good. I really hope we do United over this weekend.
I know you have this sort of a love affair with Manchester United, but it is what
Love
it is.
affair?
Yeah, that you love to hate them, bro. You just love to hate them.
Yeah. Right,
so
enough.
yeah. Henry, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Not the best sort of couple of days as a United fan. But yeah, no, not too bad. Thank you. Outside of that.
Oh, Sam, man. And Macy, how about yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? Apart from the result from yesterday, I'm all good.
Yeah. Obviously, let's get into it and talk about this game. Always a big game, West Ham and United. Always it has been for a long time. Like, it's caused a lot of controversy over the years, back from even in the early 90s. Mitch, what are you? I'll start off with you. What are you thinking on Sunday in regards of our look at it?
I'm very mixed. I mean, I'll take a draw. Nah.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I would take a draw even after. But the benefit is that we rested players for the City game.
Yeah.
And we're a game ahead in terms of training and scheduling compared to, because obviously United played last night. We're at home, so there's quite a few things going our way in terms of us getting a point and possibly getting 3 points. But United, we never seem to do well against United, and yeah, I can't see us winning. I think a draw is possible, but it'll be a tight game. It's always entertaining at the London Stadium. United versus West Ham's there's been problems. There's been Noble facing off with Pogba. You've got Ronaldo diving in my fucking corner as well. That not last season. Oh yeah, it was last season, and I was absolutely losing my shit. Yeah, we're in for another game.
So you're looking at a draw. Macy, I'll start with you from the Manchester United side. What are you expecting?
To be honest, I think with Manchester United's point of view, it's a must-win game. Same with West Ham, it's a must-win game just because of how tight it is on the bottom half. And with Manchester United, we do need 9 more points at least to be in the top 4, which obviously both teams need them 3 points. And our away record, is pretty poor. It's pretty poor this season. To be honest, I would like to say that we're gonna get a win, but I'm thinking draw at the back of my mind, but I don't know. I think it's gonna be a tight one.
What about you, Henry? What you saying, man?
I don't know. I'm sort of quietly confident. I think that, that might sound a bit silly. We've had some really poor results recently, and the second half performances specifically have been very poor. Dropping points. Spurs was really poor, dropping points there. Obviously. The Sevilla when we were 2-0 up in that home leg as well, and threw that away. And even last night against Brighton, it was a similar sort of story. The first half wasn't too bad. Played some good stuff, and then second half couldn't get a kick, couldn't create a single chance. So no, I think it's tough to be confident, but I think there's usually a response from Ten Hag's teams after we have a loss. Last week against Villa was a good win, and there's usually a response when there's a poor result. So that's why I've got a bit of confidence going into it. But yeah, as we've sort of alluded to, this game has become more nervy than it should be as a United fan. This should have been a sort of comfortable game to go into. We should have been in a sort of cushy place when it comes to top 4. But obviously the Brighton and Spurs results have meant it isn't. It means a lot more. So there'll definitely be nerves there, I think. Liverpool sort of in the rearview mirror there. Don't look like they're going to lose a game before the end of the season. So it's in our hands to get some points somewhere. And you'd hope that Sundays is a place where we can go and get 3. But yeah, I never take a Moyes side lightly as well. Moyes, I think, is always motivated to try and get a result against United. So not massively confident, but hopefully we see a response as we have done a few times this season.
I agree. Like it's a weird game, this one, because both teams are like mixed at the minute. We're just not good. Like 1 minute we're really, really good, and the next minute we're absolutely awful. So you can just never tell with West Ham at the minute. Obviously, our eyes are firmly set next Thursday against AZ Alkmaar, and I don't know which way West Ham are going to turn up in this game. I can see a slight little bit of rotation, but it's always a big game. West Ham, Man United is always the one where, like, when you look at the fixtures, we look at Tottenham, we look at Chelsea, and we do look at the Man United game as like the big hitters. Do you know what I'm saying? From past. But let's go to this.
Alfie's on one in the chat.
I know. You even got to tell me, mate. I'll carry on. Eric Ten Hag's error at Manchester United. Henry, are you impressed with him or not?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's done a great job. I think, last season, when you look at the disarray the club was in towards the back end, especially under Ranić, and, the attitude issues with the players, that there was a lot of issues, deep underlying issues with that squad. And, Ten Hag instantly had issues to deal with as soon as he walked through the door, big high-scale issues. Ronaldo straight away, him coming out in the press wanting to leave was a big issue for him to deal with. I think he dealt with it really well and just sort of phased him out, had the sort of the balls really to do that, to sort of phase him out and knowing that there would be reaction to that. There was always going to be noise around that situation. And I think he dealt with it really well. And obviously we've seen that really in a reflection of the form really. Obviously there's still some issues there. The away form, as Macy alluded to, isn't fantastic. There's definitely improvements to be had there, and the Sevilla game away. We've had those sort of wake up calls and some terrible results in there mixed in as well. Obviously, Anfield was a disgrace, disastrous, as was the Etihad really. Even though it ended in a sort of respectable looking 6-3, it was a terrible performance. So there's still those sort of hunches and those sort of bumps in the road really that Ten Hag's going to have. But I think at the beginning of the season, at the end of the day, if you'd offered us, top four, which fingers crossed should get over the line, and a trophy, and then be in the final of another trophy, I think we'd have snapped your hand off really. So I think it's tough to say he's done a poor job really when, last season, as I say, the expectations were extremely low and the Ranić era was a disaster really. So no, I think he's done a great job.
What about you, Macy? Impressed?
I would echo exactly everything what Henry has said, to be honest. I think that Ten Hag has had a lot of work coming into the team, as we mentioned there, with Cristiano Ronaldo's situation. He dropped Marcus Rashford in a game due to lateness in training. And I think, when I done my review show last night, somebody said, with the squad you've got, you should be challenging for the league. And I said, if you looked at each player individually, I can see why you think that, but the team is so unbalanced, and it's very hard to have a competing squad when you've got such an unbalanced team also. So
I don't think you've got a complete squad though, looking at it.
Yeah. I agree. There is definitely some work there. What does need to be done, and there needs some outgoings, needs a couple of incomings as well. And I think overall, Ten Hag has done absolutely superb. He's put discipline into the squad, which Luke Shaw has said he hasn't had at Manchester United in a long time. As we mentioned, the Carabao Cup and being in the top four at the moment, I personally did not think Manchester United was going to be in the top four. I've always said Ten Hag's first season, let's call it a little bit of an experiment season, just because he needs to get his grips into the squad. He needs to learn a bit more about the Premier League. So I was always going to say that as a bit of an experiment season, and season 2 is going to be the season we should really see what this squad's about with Eric Ten Hag. And I think based off what opposition fans thought and what Manchester United fans have thought, I think he's definitely over-exceeded expectations. And on top of that, he's also kept Manchester United fans in that mindset of, we ain't winning a title straight away. It's going to be a rebuilding process, which I don't think the fans has had since Sir Alex Ferguson, that it is going to take longer than expected to be at the best.
I hear you, man. I really, really do. Mitch, what about you? What do you think of Ten Hag? From
I think he's a
outside
very
looking,
good manager. I actually thought, no matter who they sign manager-wise, they're never going to win a title unless their board changes, unless there's some massive redevelopment around the club. Ten Hag, though, looks like there's a possibility it could happen because, I think the football they play has been better. They seem more organised now. And there was games as well in the last few seasons where they would just get hammered against teams where they wasn't expecting to. That hasn't happened this year, I don't think. Has it?
Not really. It has. It did at the start of the season. Both Henry and Macy.
Start of the season, but obviously that's a bit different. I'm talking more like in the middle and end of other managers' tenure. But
Yeah.
they've got a lot more of a balance, I think, now.
I don't know. I look at Man United. I just don't see them being the powerhouse. I don't know about what Macy and Henry think at present, but I look at them and I think they're about 2 or 3 years away from being right up there in a model like City. I think Arsenal have gone up there, but then they've faltered towards the back end. I think if you're going to try and win the title, you've got to have it all in all competitions and have the squad to do everything. And I just don't think Man United have. I think they need.
I think Arsenal dropping off next season, 100%.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think Man United need a striker who's going to get them 25, 30 goals a season, like literally instant. Someone who they know, who they can depend on, who's going to be fit most of the season. I think their centre-half pairing, I think Martinez is good, but I think you need a partner to go with him, someone who's going to be fit. And like, if you ain't got Varane, you got Maguire. And I don't know what the people think of Maguire, but, you know, it is what it is. But I think they're there, but I just think they need like 2 or 3 top-class players.
Right back as well. Like, right back's good, but they're not world class, are they? Like,
yeah.
Looking at the title challenging teams, they've got like consistent quality top right backs and full back and the left back. Like, do you have that at United?
We've not even mentioned the goalkeeper as well, which is obviously like I'm a big David De Gea fan, but the questions that have been asked of him recently, I think, are very fair. You know, he's been very poor with his feet and he's made errors, and Sevilla we saw made huge errors. So that's another. You know, if Ten Hag seems to back De Gea publicly, he might go and shop for another keeper who can play with his feet a bit better and build out from the back as sort of Liverpool and City do.
Who would you say, Henry? What sort of goalkeeper?
You beat me.
I just done you to it, Mitch. What sort of goalkeeper would you look at to replace De Gea? Because I've got to be honest, De Gea for me has done pretty well at United. I think.
Oh, he's I wouldn't say he's quite a legend. I think he's borderline. He's been a great servant for United. He really has, and in his peak was for me the best goalkeeper I've ever seen. At his absolute peak, shot stopping, absolutely incredible throughout. Well, it's a credit to how poor we were, but also a credit to him that he was winning Player of the Year awards, season upon season under Van Gaal and. Brilliant under Mourinho as well. So, De Gea's been excellent. I just think maybe it's coming to an end for him. Who we replace him with? That's a really tough question. I've seen bits. I haven't seen loads of Diogo Costa over at Porto. Saw a bit of him at the World Cup. Didn't think he was great then, but I can't say I watched him outside of that much.
I do watch Costa in the league actually because I do follow the Portuguese league a lot. And personally, I do think Diogo Costa is quite overrated. He's a very young goalkeeper. That's fine. Like, that's understandable. Like, he's going to make them errors, and it's the first time he's been to the World Cup and being a starting 11 player. But he's got a fantastic penalty conversion rate. I think he's got one of the best in the world. But on his one-on-ones, he's very, very sus. And on top of that, even with his feet, he isn't the best at his feet either. So I'm not too sure where, like, when people are talking about Costa and going, he should be the one you should be going for. Because it's like they're looking at it based off he can save a penalty, and there's more to it than that for me, especially if you're paying 70 mil for a goalkeeper for sure.
Yeah. Actually, I've seen a bit of him over there, but yeah, I wouldn't think so. For me personally, I think if Man United want to go and get a goalkeeper, go and get the Brentford goalkeeper for me.
That's the one I want. I think Raya.
I think anyone who picks him up from Brentford, and I do like Brentford. I think the way they run their club is pretty good. I do talk about Brentford and Brighton quite a lot on here.
Superb club,
yeah,
Brentford.
Because
purely the squad.
Yeah,
the away fans still sit down at away games.
Yeah, but it is what it is. Right, let's get to your thoughts on West Ham's this season. I'll start off with Macy. What do you make of West Ham from an outside looking in?
It's a bit strange of what's really happened with West Ham because, like, last season you've done so well getting it, like how far you went in the Europa League. You were still in a good spot in the Premier League as well, and it looked like David Moyes. He has some great recruitment as well in the summer too. One who I really like that centre back you bought, who got injured in pre-season. I think he's absolutely spectacular. And I'm not too sure where it's happened, if it's injuries or I know a lot of people are not overly happy with David Moyes itself, but I just think it's very, very strange. And with the squad that of course, West Ham have got, you should be easily in the top 10, no question about that. If there's something to do with the management, the board, the backroom staff, we don't know. We wouldn't know what it is, but I do think that with West Ham, I think there is parts where you're definitely underachieving. Like I remember watching that loss against Nottingham Forest at the start of the season, being for instance. I do think you've got a very good squad, and if you manage to keep the players that you've got in this summer, I think you may potentially bounce back, but it's just a matter of what's going to really happen for you.
What about you, Henry? What do you make of West Ham?
I don't know. It's been a mix. I say it's been. What's he laughing at? What are you giggling at?
Ignoring,
Sorry,
mate.
someone's just put something very silly in the chat.
Yeah.
Very silly.
Carry on, Henry.
No, I think it's been. I was going to say it's been mixed, but it's not been good, has it? Really, especially with the standards that you sort of raise yourselves to. You know, you've been challenging. I think you finished 7th last season. I think I'm right in saying that. And obviously, fought on a very decent front in. Fought on a decent front in Europe as well last season. You know, almost a real fairy tale story. So maybe it's a come down from that. Naturally, I think if you reach that sort of height, you know, that was a big season for you guys in that way. Maybe there was always going to be some sort of come down. But I'd agree with what Macy said. You know, there's some good players that you signed in the summer. You know, Paqueta looks like, you know, there was sort of excitement around him coming to the club, and a couple of the other Scamacca as well. You know, big sort of European signings that you sort of dipped into the market for. I think as an outsider looking in, you know, there's some maybe sort of opinions that people have on you know how harsh you guys have been on Moyes. I know Mitch has been, you know, specifically very harsh on David Moyes at points in the season.
No, I haven't compared to others.
Well,
like, honestly, I'm more so James. I've been more so like kind of in the middle, slightly more towards Moyes out the whole season. But like there's been in this last couple of months, a lot of our fan base have been Moyes out, and I thought at this point in the season it doesn't really matter. If we need to be steadied with a very,
I think what it is,
squad,
Mitch,
and I think Moyes needed to stay in.
I think what it is for what Mitch is saying. Listen, Mitch wasn't the first one on here. It was me. I was the one who turned around and said that Moyes has to go. Like, this is enough. I've seen enough. The problem is with Moyes is that he's very, very stubborn. As Manchester United fans, you will know how stubborn that man is. Like when he was running your club many years ago, and with us, he's just been very, very stubborn. Hasn't really developed us this season. Like we've gone backwards this season where we should be going forwards. I think the Europa Conference League covers up a lot of cracks, makes us look better than what we've actually done. And I think a lot of people just are tired now of the Moyes ball. Like some people back Moyes and say, listen, what he's done is amazing. He's given us 2 semi-finals. But in the league, you've got to develop. Because I look at other teams like Brighton, Brentford, I look at Villa. Villa at the start of the season were fighting relegation, and all of a sudden they go and get a new manager in. They shoots up the league, and then they're fighting to stay like for European competition. Do you know what I'm saying? So I look at it quite different with it. Like as a West Ham fan, I think this season will only be a success if West Ham win the conference. If West Ham win the conference, it's a good season, in my opinion. If West Ham fail to win the conference, then it's a failure. Like from where we was last 2 years, like you can't go from 6th, 7th, and then down to say 16th, and say that is it a successful run. Do you know what I'm saying? Anything else you want to add on that, Mitch, before we move on?
Yeah, just quick. I'll talk just briefly about Moyes, where people say, if he keeps us up and he wins a Conference League, then it's a good season. But the problems have been so evident this season, pointed towards Moyes, pointed towards his very questionable like lineups, him going to play like three defensive midfielders from a Liverpool against Man United, and we questionable substitutions game in, game out. You know, not rotating the squad well with in terms of the youth. Decided the press, our press has been one of the worst in the league this season. We press with like, it's just terrible. There's no intensity. How many times, James, this season have we pressed high, won a ball back quick and scored from it? It's very, very rare. With other teams, you see it all the time. With us, it's so rare because our press is shit. It's shocking.
And that is, before I move on, I agree with Mitch. Like it has been shocking this season in regards to pressing teams. Like West Ham had the worst press in the whole of Europe at one stage, and that's not a good thing to have, especially in this day and age. But
that,
you know,
at the end of the day, though, if he wins you the Conference League, you're into the Europa League for next season. You know, that's a huge positive. That's as United fans, we don't like being in that competition, but I do like it as a competition. I think there's always decent European sides, good ties to have in there. Teams dropping down from the Champions League now as well. So
and the final will be a big side.
Would you not?
Don't get me wrong, Henry. Yeah, it's only good if it happens. That's the only problem that I have. Like, we shouldn't be like. For me personally, and I can't speak for every West Ham fan. Mitch will probably say how he feels, but I can't accept that. We have to win this competition to make it a success. Like it has to be a success in tandem. Do you know what I mean? You have to develop, and I just don't see West Ham have developed this year. I think we've signed a load of players that Moyes does not know how to get the best out of. I will say that. I think you can say about Paqueta, but Paqueta has only started to kick into gear. And Mitch will probably agree on that. He's been good in moments, but now he's been more effective. He's been more of an influence in games. I think some of the other signings,
in terms of going forward, he's been so much better in terms of linking midfield to attack.
Yeah.
Everything good at the moment in terms of attacks comes through him. Then every time it's always through him to Bowen, him to the striker, link up play. And because of that, we are looking better, and it adds so much composure to the side, which we've been needed all season.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need that trophy win though to maybe kick you on. Like, say if you do go and win it now. How do you guys see it? Is that a perfect time for you guys to
Joe, what? For me, and I'll let Mitch answer this. If we go and win the Conference League, we are in a dilemma. How can you sack a manager who just won us our first trophy?
It's so exactly, but the problems are so always there. Like before the World Cup, people like Alfie, people like Lucas, who come on this channel all the time, were telling me, but you need a chance to change after the World Cup. I can't remember what the problems were, but it was so obvious before the World Cup what the problems were. And I was saying them, I said, Moyes will not change the tactics and the way we set up. I can't remember what it was exactly. And then they all said he would. And to prove that he had all that time in the World Cup to change, and the January transfer window to sign Danny Ings as an only signing, who's been absolutely shocking. Again, it just goes to show he's not changing really.
He's too set in his ways. What Mitch is saying is basically true. He's like Moyes is too set in his ways now. And my attitude is Moyes won't get a better job than West Ham United. In my opinion, I look at him and I look at them 20 teams in the Premier League, and I look at them and I think, well, who else is there where he could go? Like West Ham's really.
So, the only big job I could see David Moyes getting, if anything was to happen with West Ham, would be the Scotland job. I actually can't see him going into any other top Premier League club and going into Europe again, unless he goes abroad and he has a fantastic part in Europe. I can't see him getting another big job unless it's Scotland. And I do see what you mean in terms of David Moyes being very stubborn, because one player who I think has been a massive drop off for West Ham this season is Souček. I don't know if you agree with that.
Shit last season as well.
I do.
Hey, go on. Carry on, Mason.
I look at, for instance, players like Flynn Downs. Like, every time I've watched him, I think he's been a great player. And knowing that you see him, for instance, like Souček, for instance, getting that game week in, week out. And Declan Rice, I think he was too early for me to get that captaincy. He's still only very young, and I think perhaps maybe to give it that bit more of an experienced play, even if it was for your goalkeeper, just because he's got that bit more of experience in the squad. He's been at a few more clubs, and he's still only very young, Declan Rice. So I think even that big responsibility doesn't help either. Yeah,
I hear you, man. Honestly, we're gonna see what happens with West Ham. Hopefully, we'll win the conference, but nothing is literally guaranteed with this club at the minute. So it is what it is. But we'll move on to this.
Should be sold at the end of the season. And now that his form's been a bit better recently, we can get a high value for him. So happy days.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. Right, let's start with Macy. What are you saying for your Manchester United 11 on Sunday?
I'm gonna go. I think De Gea's gonna stay in goal. I had a bit of a fright when I seen Jack Butland warming up yesterday, but I'd say Wan-Bissaka's gonna be on the right, and then it's gonna be Lindelof and Shaw, just because Maguire's not capable of playing. I think Malacia will come back into the squad. I think for me, he was the best player against Aston Villa, and I'm surprised he didn't start against Brighton. The midfield, I think Casemiro will be staying in, and I think that Eriksen will be back, and then it's going to be Bruno in the 10, Rashford, actually I'm going to Sancho on the left, Anthony on the right, and I'm going to put Rashford in the middle. I think he'll drop Anthony Martial after Brighton game. I think he was terrible.
Henry's been a massive, I know, not was the word hater of Martial for years.
Maybe on that line, on those lines, maybe not hater, but I'm not a big fan of his now, not at all.
No, I've never liked him. I think his attitude fucking stinks as well. I like him.
I think that's valid not to like him. I mean, there's a huge Twitter support for Anthony Martial, and we all loved him when he first came through. Like, even this exciting young lad came from France, did skirtle in his first game, scored in his debut against Liverpool. Straight away you're in perfect stead with the fans. You're in a perfect position then to kick on from that. And to be fair, that season he did all right, but since then, whenever we signed a striker, we signed Ibra, he sulked. We signed Cavani, he sulked.
Yeah.
Even now, he's not good enough. He's not available enough. When he does
but this is the problem, though, with the board, and you will agree with this, is that we are signing pension age strikers. That we're not looking at a longer term solution in that striker role and go, oh, we've got this, like, this is who's available, this, and this. Because I think for me, the natural number nine, it is like you're not seeing as many these days, and more teams are going into that false nine approach. You see, in Haaland, before Haaland came to City, they was playing the false nine. Bayern Munich's moved to the false nine now. Lewandowski has gone, but there's still some fantastic strikers, and one that I would take would be Harry Kane. I know that's obviously different opinions on that as well, but I just think we need to look at the longer term solution, which I don't think the board is wanting to do, because they've looked at Cavani, Zlatan. These are big names. Like, look what they've done in PSG. Look what Zlatan's done in Milan, Ajax, Barca. Like, he's been everywhere. He's world class, and I think that's what they're looking at, more of the shirt sales. And I think now we've got Erik ten Hag, he'll have a bit more of that say and say, I don't want this person, or I don't want this person either. So I do think, for me, Anthony Martial is going to probably be gone in the summer, just because I don't think he's had 8 years now. He's had 1.5 good seasons. Like,
8 years, that's crazy.
8 years, mate.
Yeah.
Wow. Go carry on, basically.
Like, and the fact that Manchester United put a clause in where we paid Monaco so much of a fee, if even Ballon d'Or, is crazy. It's crazy.
What about 8 years, mate? I remember when he signed from Monaco. I remember it. Henry, what's your 11?
I wouldn't say too dissimilar to Macy's. I'd say, I hadn't thought about Malacia coming back in. Maybe that's a possibility. I'm not the biggest fan of Diogo Dalot anyway. I think, especially on the left at times, he had a couple of good games. I think Forest away, he was quite good. He was sort of
Send him to us. We can have him.
What, would you take him? Would you take Dalot?
I would, yeah.
Go on, you can have him. I'll give it. He's on a free in the summer. Take him.
Yeah, I'd let you have Dalot. I'm not his biggest fan at all. I think Wan-Bissaka's, I think recently that showed as well. I think
Wan-Bissaka's been very good since the World Cup, actually, isn't he?
Yeah, he has, and he's taken his spot back right back. So there was big questions around Wan-Bissaka and whether he'd sort of get his spot back, and now obviously Dallow's playing on the opposite side because he can't get over on that right hand side. Wan-Bissaka's playing so well and dealt with Mitoma well on a couple of occasions in past weeks as well. So I'd say, I hadn't thought about it. I think Dalot might keep his spot. I wouldn't be opposed to Malacia coming in. I'm just not sure what Ten Hag's thinking on that is really. I'd do the same. I'd probably drop Martial. Whether he shifts Rashford to the middle, I'm not so certain. It could be a game where we see Weghorst come back into the 11. He hasn't started in quite a few weeks. When he first came in, he started, I think, like 10 on the trot or something like that. So Ten Hag clearly liked him, and we were winning games when he was starting. People don't like Weghorst. He's not an aesthetically pleasing footballer to watch. He's not technically brilliant. He's not scoring a lot of goals either. I think what he does...
You might need him for the height, because we've been... last week we scored 3 set-piece goals. So you might need him in there just to add a bit of height.
He's not great in the air though, unbelievably. For a
Is he not?
6'6" player, he hardly wins a header. But what he does offer you is a press. He does work very hard off the ball, which obviously Martial doesn't. And that's huge. That's massive. If we can get, and he sort of helps. He helps. I think we've seen Rashford, I think, score more goals and play much better when Weghorst has been in the team compared to where Martial has. So I don't think that's any coincidence. So yeah, I'd say the same 11 as base then. So De Gea, Dalot, Shaw, Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka. Our hands sort of forced. Varane's not quite ready yet, so it'll have to be Shaw and Lindelof, which isn't the end of the world. They've played quite well. Yesterday, Luke Shaw was brilliant until that handball. It was a real shame that that sort of marred his performance. He had been playing really well at centre half, and I think Luke Shaw's a naturally talented football. He could sort of play him anywhere, and he'd do all right, really. With the midfield, I think, Fernandes and Casemiro, two of the most important players. I wouldn't move them. I'd bring Eriksen back in for Fred, or even Sabitzer, just someone who can keep the ball a bit better. Fred's been really wasteful lately. Used to not, I've never been too critical of Fred, not this season anyway, because I think he's always had a role to play. He's energetic, he buzzes around, he causes issues. But as of recent, that's sort of gone, and he's just been poor on the ball, off the ball, not offered much. Lazy fouls, giving away free kicks. Villa, I think last week, gave away a needless foul on the edge of the box, got a yellow card as soon as he came on, got them a set piece right at the other end of the pitch, could have caused an issue, luckily didn't. And then, with the front three, I'd probably go Rashford on the left. And then, I'd say bring Wout back in for this, just see how it goes. I think at the minute, we're not doing brilliantly going forward. See how it goes. Yeah, so Wout down the middle, and then I'd go Anthony on the right. I don't think you could, I don't think Sancho's impressed recently at all either. So, and Anthony, clearly still got bite. We saw him last night kick out at someone, and we like to see a bit of that. So I'd have Anthony on the right. So that's why.
From what I've heard, from what you just said about that team, the first person that I look at and think weakness is Luke Shaw in central defence, especially against Antonio. If Antonio turns up, I think Lindelof and Shaw could have problems there. I don't know about you, Mitch, but I'll let you go first.
I agree. I think.
What do you reckon?
I think. Well, Lindelof, I remember used to say. Yeah. I think would struggle a lot more than Antonio, right? Because he's not as quick, probably always strong as Shaw. Would you say?
What? Who? Lindelof?
Yeah,
I'd say Luke Shaw's stronger than Lindelof.
Yeah, and quicker. Would you say as well?
Yeah.
So and it's always from what I've seen of Lindelof over the years, he's always struggled with direct players. He's always like tripped over, fell over when big players have gone up against him, and I don't see that as a weakness, especially in set pieces as well.
I'd say Lindelof's the big one out of the pair of them. I mean, Luke Shaw came up against Haaland in January, and he was absolutely brilliant. Obviously, I think he was partnered with Lissandro back then, so much more of a better partner. But I don't think Luke Shaw would be the issue. I think you're right. I think Lindelof, when you put a big striker up against him, you can cause issues. And I remember a couple of years ago we played West Brom. They had a striker called Dianya. I don't know if you remember him. Dianya, he was called.
Oh my God, he was terrible, wasn't he? From the Turkish league.
He scored. I think he scored a brace against us at their place at the Hawthorns.
I remember that game.
Got right up under him. And similarly, Huddersfield a few years ago as well. I think that was Stephen Mounier, or it might have been one of their other players, Kachunga or something like that. But again, Lindelof, I agree. I think Lindelof's probably where you could probably have some joy, and probably Dalot down that side as well.
I'm going to say my team. Mitch, tell me if you agree. I mean, you're going in sync. Obviously, Fabregas in goal, Mitch. Would you say yeah?
Yeah. Although off recent performances, I would not start him because he's been very inconsistent recently.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Right backs are going to be a problem now because there's no Kafal. Now, who goes right back for you, Mitch?
Kera. For me, Kera.
It's going to have to be, isn't it?
After confident performance against City, I'd start Kera.
Kera at right back. Aguerd will play. Who's the other central defender?
I think it has to be Bonner.
It's going to have to be, isn't it? And then left back. Who's your left back, Mitch?
I don't think we'd have too much of a problem, with Bonner, because they haven't got any basic players on the right. That would I think trouble with Bonner in terms of getting in behind. You've got Anthony, but he doesn't get in behind. He runs at players. And then Weghorst, if he does play, I think Bonner wouldn't struggle with him that much. So I think Bonner, it's a good game for Bonner, really. On the left, Emerson all day long for me.
I have to agree. I think Cresswell's one-trick pony. He crosses a good ball, but he can't defend. Three-man midfield for you, Mitch. Paqueta, Rice, and is it Souček in this one or not?
It would have to be, yeah.
Do you know what?
If I was manager of West Ham United, that wouldn't be
Yeah.
the case. But yeah, it makes sense to start Souček.
I will say this: one thing what Henry and Macy have said about their team is there's not a lot of hype in there.
Yeah,
from what I'm hearing. So I think this is the right game for Souček. So I would go Souček.
It is, to be fair, for this game. If I had to give him a game, I would give him this game.
Up front, the 3-man attack. Bowen for me. I think this should agree. Antonio, and on the left, I would play Ben Rama in this game. I don't know about you. I think he can run at people. He could draw fouls and make things happen. What are you saying on the left, Mitch?
Definitely not full nails. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
After 2 stinkers within a week.
Agree.
Yeah, Benny or Cornet for me to toss up. Like, yeah, it depends really.
Yeah,
I can't really choose either or.
It's going to have to be Benny for me, and that'll be the team that I think he will go with. Let's go to predictions time. This is the best part of the show because this is where we're going to all see what is going to happen. Right, let's start off with Henry. Henry, what are you saying on Sunday, 7 o'clock, by the way, in the evening?
I know, yeah, it's an interesting kickoff time, isn't it? There's going to be probably trouble for people travelling back. The boys coming down from Manchester getting back in the evening, quite a late one for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I think I'll go on the optimistic side. I think, as I said, we've bounced back before when we've lost games and we've had disappointing performances. There's always been a little bit of a reaction, so I'd like to expect that. Albeit with the poor away form. We haven't had to be fair, we haven't had the best record at your guys' place really in the past few seasons. I can think of a few ish. I mean, last season got lucky with the De Gea penalty save from Noble in the last.
Yeah,
game.
Jesus, yeah.
And before that, I think in behind closed doors we did beat you. I think we did beat 3-1 or something, or 3-2 maybe. Yeah. So I'll go on the optimistic side. I'll say I'll go 3-1 United. I think we're due a few goals as well. So
yeah. Let's ask you then, Mitch.
With my pure neutral hat on, I think it'll be a really tight game. I think it's always been quite tight at home. I think the way we're playing at the moment will suit us in terms of facing United. I don't think United will be all out to press us at home, which will suit us because when we've had a bit of space and time, we've played better football recently. So I think 2-1 to United.
I will leave Macy till last. I'll go next. I think this is a banker draw written all over it for me.
It's even a draw for me, like a 2-2, 2-1 for me.
I don't see West Ham beating Man United, but then it wouldn't surprise me if West Ham put in a performance to stop Man United from winning, if that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying? I wasn't impressed last weekend against Palace. During the week against Manchester City, first half, I thought we've done all right. We defended pretty well. The only problem is with us at the minute is we are tired and the fatigue is starting to kick in.
Yeah, the rotation could in a week could really help us, and we could look really sharp Sunday. So
it could do, but I do think these lads are thinking of the AZ game. That's why I think the AZ game is more appealing than this one, even though it is Manchester United, it is at home, and we do still need points to sort of stay in the league. So I'm going to go for a draw, but I think there's going to be goals in this game. Anyone who's having a bet, I'd back over 2.5 all day long in this game. I think there's always goals when West Ham play Man United, especially at the ELS. So we've got to be wary of Rashford. He loves a goal against us, and he loves that sort of ball over the top or ball down the side for him to run onto. So if West Ham can set up in a way defensively and try and hit United on the break when United are going to come forward, then we might get a positive result. But I think the draw for me is the move. I'm going to say.
Right fixture, by the way. Kevin didn't when he played right back. If you remember, he played right back again. Didn't do too bad against Rashford.
He made one error and it cost us.
He made one error where he got done.
Yeah.
But besides from that, Rashford didn't cause any problems really.
Yeah. So I'm going to go for a 2-2. I think there's goals in this game. I think West Ham will turn up and give it a good go. I think players will come on like Cornet. And I think it'll be an entertaining game. But I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Macy, what are you saying?
Man United West Ham is always such a tight game. Like there's always like a last minute goal that decides it. Like I remember, like I can't remember if it was last season or the season before when Noble come on to take the penalty, and it was just David De Gea saved it. But it's just some kind of drama like that always seems to happen in like the last 10 minutes of a game with United West Ham. But to be honest, I do see a draw written all over it. Every time I'm not feeling optimistic, it always happens. It doesn't go our way. So I'm gonna go for a 1-1 draw. But I do think, though, that we do really need to bounce back. We need to try and get a win. But based off how Man United's been playing in the last recent games, they couldn't score with an open barn door. So, so I don't think it'll be that many goals, to be honest.
Yeah. I must admit, I've watched a bit of United, and they're not the same team that they once were. But I think, let's be honest, they get top 4 and get 2 trophies this year. For a team that ain't really hitting the heights right now, then, it is something that you can say, you know what, they can improve on that next season and go one step further.
Oh, they need a striker so bad. Like, that's so important.
We need Kane. We need Kane.
Yeah.
Tottenham
Tottenham fans, United are coming for Kane.
What Tottenham, Ken? What Tottenham?
I'd love Ivan Toney. I just don't know if, with all the betting charges and stuff, United are a club that are all they're extremely worried about PR and things like that. And with like a ban moving, I don't know whether United backed it.
I think we would have gone for Ivan Toney otherwise, and it was funny because after that Tottenham game, we was all chanting, "Harry Kane, we'll see you in June."
Yeah,
hopefully.
I must admit, it wouldn't surprise me if he does go there. But Henry, thank you very much for coming on, mate. I really do appreciate it. As always, Macy as well. Macy, give a shout out to your YouTube channel while you're here. Shout it out.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a great chat. My YouTube channel is Devils United. I do Manchester United content on there, not just for the men, but also the women's football as well. So I do both. So you can check that out through there. And my Twitter's at 2_ Mays1012. Thank you for having me on again.
No worries at all,
yes,
mate.
let's do that actually quickly. Before you go, both of you, who would you rather win the league, Arsenal or City?
Arsenal.
Arsenal.
Well, Arsenal, we've had a discussion with fans have been one of the most hated teams for me nowadays.
Nah, City will always be worse for us. Well, for me anyway.
Yeah, I suppose United, yeah.
That's like choosing.
Maisie was a bit 50-50 though.
That's like having 2 exes and telling them which one you want to go back to, isn't it? You know what I mean? But it's what it is. I know,
that's how it felt like. Which ex would you rather go to, this one or this one? But to be honest, the problem is Arsenal fans are deluded. They're very, very deluded. And it gets to the point where they lose, it's funny. And when it comes to Manchester City, they could win the treble, and that will just disgust me more. So I'd have to go with Arsenal.
I suppose.
Yeah. Mitch, thank you very much, mate, for arriving. Obviously, you're going to be there Sunday and to watch it live. So, enjoy yourself, mate. Listen, thanks to everyone in the chat. Also, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel. Go and follow Macy's channel, Devils United. And also follow Henry on Twitter. Speaks well and knows his stuff. And I'll be back on Sunday, full artillery coming up, like watch along, after full player ratings, the works on Sunday night. Hopefully,
love that.
Has to be, mate. Trust me. One thing I'm going to say is though, we're going to have to perform against United because every time we do play United, they seem to get the job done against us. And obviously, we've got a big week next week. AZ obviously on the Thursday, so we're going to have to turn up. But have a good weekend. Whatever you're doing, I will see you on Sunday. Thank you very much, and take care of yourselves and each other. Peace.
There it is. I've never found a love like this.